Hey, what's up, everybody? Harrison here, the Arabian Pleb, getting the show going again. I did record an episode yesterday, but I wasn't too happy with how it turned out after watching it back, so I scrapped it and thought I'd pump out a new one. So this is the new episode 20. What is it? It's 27th of March, Friday. Beautiful day. A little bit overcast, but that's nice because yesterday was pretty hot. So what I want to do is just talk about what's going on in the world, really. This attack on Iran from Israel and America, and just how the Australian media is reporting it, like the ABC, which is the Australian government-funded news outlet, and then and also look at antiwar.com and what they're sort of writing about what's going on. Antiwar.com is the best resource if you want to know about wars and entanglements and the Americans just fucking shit up and invading people and doing the wrong thing. So, get stuck into it, eh? So maybe we'll go over to this first article over here at antiwar.com. Let me switch the screen over. And we've got US preparing major escalation against Iran that could include ground troops and intensified bombings, by Dave DeCamp yesterday, 26th of March. Or maybe today, because here in Australia we're in the future by 10, 12, 14 hours, something like that. The Pentagon is developing options for a potential major escalation against Iran that could involve ground troops and an intensified bombing campaign. And this is as per Axios reported on Thursday. US officials and other sources speaking to Axios reported Barak Ravid, a former IDF intelligence officer, described the potential escalation as a quote, final blow, end quote, that would give Trump more leverage and room to, quote, declare victory, end quote, though all indications are that Iran is ready to face ground forces and that any such operation would prolong the war. Of course it would. What's America going to do? They're talking about they're going to deploy the 82nd Airborne to some fucking small island in the Strait of Hormuz, and they're just going to be sitting ducks. The Iranians are going to be able to fucking smack them with drones and missiles, and it's just not going to be good. And how are they going to fucking get them in there anyway? Like, they're going to have to, drop them in by the air, and then those planes are going to be vulnerable too to drone attacks. Ravid's sources said the potential options for a, quote, final blow, end quote, include 1, invading or blockading Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub; 2, invading Larak, an island that helps Iran solidify its control of the Strait of Hormuz. The strategic outpost hosts Iranian bunkers, attack craft that can blow up cargo ships, and radars that monitor movements in the strait. 3, seize the strategic island of Abu Musa and 2 smaller islands which lie near the western entrance to the strait and are controlled by Iran but also claimed by the UAE. 4, blocking or seizing ships that are exporting Iranian oil on the eastern side of the Hormuz Strait. So that's it. So there's 4 points. Another operation being considered is sending troops deep inside Iran to secure Tehran's stockpile of uranium enriched at 60%, though it's believed to be buried under the rubble following the June 2025 airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. So it's unclear if a team of US special operations would be able to access the material. The report said that President Trump hasn't made a decision, but that a major escalation was likely if negotiations made no progress, and there's no sign that real diplomacy is underway despite Trump's claims. Iranian officials have rejected a 15-point proposal that the US passed through mediators and have set their own conditions to end the war. And I read through that in the last show that I deleted now, so I'll go through the Iranian 5-point proposal, which seems very reasonable to me. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt threatened on Wednesday that President Trump was ready to, quote, unleash hell, end quote, on Iran. Thousands of US Marines and US Army airborne appear to be on their way to the Middle East as the Pentagon prepares for ground attacks, operations that are fraught with risk and will likely result in major US casualties, since any ground force would face significant and sustained Iranian missile and drone attacks. In the meantime, US-Israeli strikes continue to pound Iran, and the Iranian military continues to launch successful attacks on Israel and US bases across the region. According to a report from the New York Times, the majority of US bases in the Middle East are now basically uninhabitable due to the Iranian strikes. That's hectic. And this is written by Dave DeCamp. That's full on, because America has a lot of fucking military bases in the region. I mean, let's have a look. U.S. military bases in the Middle East map. I mean, I don't know how up to date all this is, but I mean, let's have a look. Yeah, so, you know, as you can see, they've got a bunch of bases. They had a bunch of bases in Afghanistan too. I guess that's no longer there, but I'm sure they've got... Hang on, let me pause this for 1 sec. All right, this is more like it. So, and again, don't know how up to date this is, but, you know, because I'm pretty sure the bases in Afghanistan... you know, no longer exist. Like, America withdrew from Afghanistan. But yeah, so as you can see, there's a bunch. There's a bunch all kind of, you know, in these Gulf countries, and yeah, they're just like they're just easy targets for Iran to be able to hit. And then yeah, like Turkmenistan and in Turkey, and yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot can go wrong. All right, so let's see what's going on. Oh, that was the other thing too. Like, listening back to, I was so fucking angry in the episode that I deleted from yesterday, and I was swearing a lot. So I'm really, and I know I just swore just before, but I'm really going to try and contain myself and not fly off the handle with too many F-bombs if I can help it. Don't know. Let's see what the Aussie media's reporting. So I saw a couple of headlines like this one here. Trump singles out Australia as he criticises allies on Iran war support. Just increase this text size because I'm getting old. Probably need glasses soon. Excuse me. US President Donald Trump has singled out Australia while accusing a string of allies of failing to help secure the Strait of Hormuz amid the ongoing conflict in Iran. Well, we wouldn't have to be getting dragged in to secure the Strait of Hormuz if America and Israel didn't bloody attack them. So how about you just not attack people and start wars of aggression, and then you wouldn't need our help? And what are we going to do anyway? Like, we're so puny, and we don't want to get involved. It's not our fucking fight. Like, some people might think like, oh, well, now that because it is in our interest because we need the oil from there. I was talking, so what is it, like a quarter or a fifth of the world's oil comes from the Middle East. And then I was like, oh, how much of, I was thinking like, oh, how much of Australian How much is Australia dependent on oil from the Middle East? I mean, let's have a look at it now, live on the old show. I should mute it when I'm coughing. Okay, fix that up. There we go, it's centered. Okay, so how much Middle Eastern oil is Australia dependent on? Okay, Australia is highly dependent on foreign oil, with roughly 80 to 90% of its fuel demand, petrol, diesel, and jet fuel imported. While Australia, and this is AI overview, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'd say more or less this is pretty spot on. While Australia imports little crude oil directly from the Middle East, roughly 14 to 17%, it is critically dependent on refined products, petrol, diesel, from Asian refineries, which in turn rely on Middle Eastern oil for 60 to 70% of their crude oil. Did I read that right? Which is dependent on from Asian refinery, which in turn relies on the Middle East for 60. Yeah. So we're highly dependent on it. I think I heard someone saying that we get a lot of our refined products from Singapore, and then in turn they're heavily reliant on Middle Eastern oil. So it's fucked. But that's still not a justification for us to go to war. It's not. It's like America and Israel started this. I don't know. It'd be like if it's just not a justification, man. It's just like none of us want to go fight and die. I don't want to go send the Zoomers off to go fight and die for a war that Israel and America started. And at the end of the day, whoever controls the Strait of Hormuz is not our problem. If Iran, after all this, ends up becoming more powerful, which is looking like that they will, and then they're in control of the Strait of Hormuz, who cares, dude? Who really cares? As long as we can get the goods, the products, the oil that we need, I don't really care who's controlling it. And to be honest, the people who are the rightful owners should be the ones who control it, and that's certainly not Israel and America. Okay. Quote, Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia, end quote, the US president told a lengthy cabinet meeting in Washington. The criticism, which Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has brushed off, came before the president extended Iran's deadline to open the strait to this April the 6th, saying he would delay strikes on energy plants as talks were, quote, going very well, end quote. I wonder who he's talking to, because America and Israel took out the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, took out apparently the 50 next people in line to run the country after that. It's seeming that the regime in Iran is very entrenched and sort of had game planned out all this, and the government's still running, the regime's still in place, and they're still fighting back against America and Israel and hitting their targets. So they're not going anywhere, and clearly they had thought about this and thought far enough ahead to be like, even if you take out the next 50 guys that are in line, that we're still going to be able to run this thing, and we'll just put someone else in power. So a bit of a blunder in terms of the calculation from the Israelis and the Americans, clearly. Okay, so Mr. Trump has continued to rail against NATO countries' refusal to get involved in the conflict. Australia, which we're not a NATO country, but we're tied at the hip with America, and we're occupied by America with the military bases that they have in our country and Pine Gap. We are occupied by America. People can argue with me about that, but that's just a fact. If a foreign country has military bases in your country, then they're occupying you. We're being occupied. Australia was among multiple allies that rebuffed US requests to assist in the Strait by sending vessels or troops to the region. Instead, Australia signed a joint statement offering to contribute to efforts to protect the waterway, and Defence Minister Richard Miles said discussions about next steps were ongoing. They better not drag us in. They better not agree to get us involved. And if they do, then we the people, the Australian citizens of this country need to all stand up and just go no and make it very loud and clear that we're not doing this. It's not our fight. Earlier this month, Mr. Trump called out Australia in a post to social media that lashed allies for refusing to assist the war effort, while claiming the US did, quote, not need the help of anyone, end quote. He's just so crazy. He just says one thing, then says the complete opposite thing. Trump's like, I can't believe you guys aren't getting involved. Like, we need help. Come on, give us some help. And then we all go, no. And he goes, oh, we didn't need your help anyway. He's crazy. He's absolutely insane. Speaking at the White House, Mr. Trump repeated what amounted to a veiled threat, saying he would, quote, never forget, end quote, which nations offered assistance and which did not. The president continued his criticism of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who he said had offered to send aircraft carriers to help the US when, quote, war was already over, end quote. Quote, I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it, end quote, the president said to a ripple of laughter in the room. The aircraft offered by the UK were, quote, toys compared to what we have, end quote, he added. He just has to boast and brag. He just has to talk himself up. He can't help it. He's so just narcissistic and horrible. I don't know how else to put it. His criticism comes as the president insisted Iran should negotiate a deal, while also repeating threats that the US would be Iran's, quote, worst nightmare, end quote, if it chose not to agree to the 15-point peace plan presented by the US earlier this week. So I'm going to leave it there. But why would Iran want to get back into negotiations when the last two times they were in negotiations with America, Israel and America sneak attacked them? Why would you want to go back to the negotiating table? It makes no sense. You wouldn't. You'd be like, what's the saying? Fool me once, fool me twice, and then the third time, how about no? You have to cop some consequences now. And I'm sure it's very risky from the Iranians' perspective, but I've heard Dave Smith say this a few times, that like the calculation has just changed for the Iranians. They have to give America and Israel a bloody nose now, because why would you go back to the negotiating table? You're probably just going to get sneak attacked again. So may as well just fight them. You're still going to get attacked anyway. It's pretty sad. Okay, let's go back to some articles. Trump again delaying attacks to destroy Iran's power plants. The president said the new deadline is set for Monday, April the 6th. So where are we at now? So we're Friday the 27th. So what would that would be... so it's like a week from now is the 3rd, and then 4th, 5th, 6th. So it's like 10 days away. Okay. President Trump on Thursday again said he was delaying his plan to order major strikes on Iran's power plants, claiming that negotiations with Iran were going well despite Tehran's continued insistence that talks with the US aren't even happening. Because that's the other thing. Trump's been like, we're having such good talks. I think they're going to make a deal. I think they want to make a deal. We want to make a deal, and then people are asking Trump like, oh, who are you talking to? And he's like, I should try and find the clip, but he's like, Oh, I don't know. I don't know who they are. I can't name them. I don't want to name them because if I name them, Israel might assassinate them. And then people are asking, like, you know, whoever the spokespeople are for, like, the Iranian military, and they're just going, we're not talking to him at all. What's he talking about? He's just talking crap. You can't trust anything. You can't trust anything any politician says, but especially Trump. He's just a liar. He's a known liar. He just lies about everything. So he's just untrustworthy. Just crying wolf constantly. President Trump on Thursday again said that he was delaying his plan to order major strikes on Iran's power plants, claiming that negotiations with Iran were going well despite Tehran's continued insistence that the talks with the US aren't even happening. I read that. Quote, as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April the 6th. End quote. The president wrote on Truth Social, quote, talks are ongoing and, despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they are going very well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He always has to say that, end quote, added Trump. There's two scumbags. The president initially threatened to destroy Iran's power plants by this past Monday if Tehran didn't, quote, fully open, end quote, the Strait of Hormuz. That's the other thing, or not the other thing, but that's just like something that my mind goes to is like when Trump's like threatening to blow up Iran's power plants. Like he's not targeting the military. He's not targeting the government or the regime when he's doing that. He's targeting the people. But wasn't this the whole point of this war was to like free the people? And you know, he wanted regime change and for the people to rise up. Well, how are they going to rise up when they're like starving and don't have energy to like heat themselves or cool themselves, or like you're just making their life so difficult. And also, like, what makes you think that they're going to like you for doing that as well? Like, you're expecting them to do all this heavy lifting for you and overthrow the regime after you, like, pound everybody with bombs and whatnot. But, like, I think that that's just going to make them hate you even more. Or if they didn't hate you already, they're going to hate you now because you're like, hang on, you're just, like, blowing up our power plants. What good does that do for us? So the sanctions and blockades don't work, and they actually attack the very people you're supposedly trying to help. You're attacking it's like collective punishment against the people. You know, when you sanction a country, you're stopping, you know, goods and things from being able to enter the country. When you blockade the country, it's the same thing. You're stopping goods and everything getting into the country, and most of the goods are like what just the general public need. You know, like, yeah, sure, like governments need them too, but the percentage of people in government versus the percentage of just the whole population is so small. The vast majority of the people in the country aren't government workers or part of the government or the regime. It's just such, it's so evil. It's disgusting. Then backed off and pushed the deadline to this Friday. For its part, Iran has said that it would retaliate with major attacks on energy infrastructure in Israel and countries hosting US bases, which is every Gulf nation: Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, all of them. Which would exacerbate the global economic crisis and spike in oil prices caused by the war. Earlier on Thursday, Trump contradicted himself in a post on Truth Social about the purported negotiations with Iran, suggesting that Tehran was desperate for a deal, but would also not taking talks seriously. Quote, the Iranian negotiators are very difficult and strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing, since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of a comeback, and yet they publicly state that they are only looking out our proposal wrong. He said they better get serious soon before it's too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back and it won't be pretty, end quote. This is the supposed anti-war president. This is the guy that campaigned on no new wars and getting out of forever wars in the Middle East. This is that guy. If you can hear that, it's my vacuum cleaner. My AI vacuum cleaner. That was gifted to me because I can't afford anything at the moment. Not crying poor though. Very, very blessed. In a lot of debt. Iranian officials have acknowledged that the US has sent messages through mediators, but they maintain they're not engaged in negotiations or seeking a ceasefire. Iranian media reported that Iranian officials have rejected a 15-point proposal to end the war and set their own conditions. Trump has previously used negotiations with Iran as a cover for war preparations. As Iran has now been attacked twice while engaging with the US diplomatically. Trump's new deadline on the power plant strikes could be related to the timing of when thousands of US Marines are set to go to the region, as the US is reportedly preparing for a major escalation of the war that could involve ground attacks on Iranian islands. Good Lord. I want to try and find the clip of Trump claiming that he was negotiating with the Iranians. Here, let me try and find that. All right, so I found a clip. I don't know if this is the one that I was thinking of, but more or less it's the same thing. So let's check it out from dirty old scumbag Trumpy.
I told him, I said, Dan, if you don't mind, stay in the Situation Room and you watch all those attacks that we're hitting those guys with, and they don't know what's happening. The Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is all gone, it's all gone, their radar is all gone, their leaders are all gone, the next set of leaders are all gone, and the next set of leaders are mostly gone, and now nobody wants to be a leader over there anymore. We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to, and you know what? We like it that way.
He loves it that way. He loves it that way from Israel. Let's have a look. Let's go back to the gay BC. What do we got? Maybe I'll go to... How do you just have it on like international news? What? State? I don't know. Hang on. What's this? World? Guess so. Trump reveals Iran's great gift, plus what else you should know this morning. Trump extends deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. Takes swipe at Australia. Yeah, we read that. In southern Lebanon, conflict with Israel has become existential war. Is it the end of the Iran war? Maybe I'll have a read. I'll have a read of this latest one. Let's have a look. This is from 6 hours ago. Middle East correspondent Matthew Duran in Oman. Oh, it's just a wrap-up? What you need to know today. Donald Trump is now expressing skepticism at the prospect of a peace deal anytime soon. It is a dramatic change in rhetoric after saying just days ago that there were positive signs for peace. Iran had publicly ridiculed those remarks. Actually, you know what? I should find that clip because it's pretty funny. Let's see. Hang on. I'll try and find it. Okay. Have a listen to this. Oh, God.
Hey Trump, you are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam al-Anbiya. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nizamiyan do.
Okay, and I think the rest of it's just in Persian. Yeah. Hey Trump, you're fired. Hey Trump, you're fired. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's pretty funny. Where were we up to? Even this. Okay. Let's go to point 2. Iran has rejected the 15-point plan presented by Trump administration. Oh yeah, I should pull up the Trump's Iran's counter plan. Let's see. Iran. I think it was maybe this article I went through yesterday. Okay, here we go. Yep. Hang on. All right, so the official speaking to Press TV said Iran laid out 5 conditions to end the war, which include 1, a complete halt to aggression and assassinations by the enemy; 2, the establishment of concrete mechanisms to ensure that the war is not reimposed on the Islamic Republic; 3, guaranteed and clearly defined payment for war damages and reparations. That is classic, and good on them for throwing that in there, I say. Especially because they started, America and Israel started the whole thing with sneak attack. 4, the end of the war across all fronts and for all resistance groups involved throughout the region, which include the end to Israel's attack on Lebanon, which is really intense and horrific. 5, Iran's exercise of sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz is and will remain Iran's natural and legal right, and it constitutes a guarantee for the implementation of the other party's commitments and must be recognised. So that's their 5 points. Meanwhile, heavy rain and wind are lashing much of the Middle East, from Iran and the Gulf states through to Gaza. While it may seem odd to be discussing the weather in a report on the war, it is worth remembering that the conditions could have an effect on attacks, impacting interception systems for missiles and drones, for example. And what about just like the poor people that are just getting bombed, and especially in Gaza, man, like just they're living in tents and now they're having to cop all this this hectic weather conditions, and then Israel's just bombing their tents. Just bombing the crap out of their tents. I seen a video yesterday. It was so hard to watch. Just a massive bomb going off, and it's just like in a village of tents, because the poor bastards don't have any of their, virtually all their buildings have been decimated. They're all living in tents in amongst the rubble. It's sick. What else? Let's have a look at this. Sidon is facing a new wave of displaced residents from Lebanon south as Israel's offensive continues. There's an ABC article, again, Middle Eastern correspondent Matthew Duran, and then Hamish Harty and Layla Makdisi in Sidon, Lebanon. Along the ancient waterfront of Sidon, a city known as the capital of the south in Lebanon, families have been lining up with fishing rods for generations, dropping a line in the port as much a ritual as it was a way of finding food. But recently there have been new faces appearing at the wharf who have just arrived in town. Among them this week were 3 young children sitting quietly on a bench and taking in the scene. One of the group one of the group, a girl named Batul, sorry if I'm mispronouncing all these names, had evacuated from Nabatea, roughly half an hour's drive away from Sidon, a city repeatedly hit by Israel while attacking claimed Hezbollah targets. I get scared of the strikes. I get scared of the strikes, end quote, she said. They're just kids. Batul's friend Sarah said she had mixed feelings about being in Sidon. Quote, I'm happy and sad at the same time, end quote, Sarah said. Batul added that Sarah's father had been martyred the day before. Oh, man. These children had bore witness to horrors far beyond their young years and were seeking haven in Sidon, a city that had also been hit several times by Israeli strikes, including an attack on a car the day before the ABC arrived. Israel began its bombardment of Lebanon just a few days after Israel and US started attacking the Islamic regime in Iran. Hezbollah fired upon Israel in solidarity with Tehran, and then Israel struck back with deadly ferocity. And this photo, smoke rising after Israeli strikes in the southern suburb of Beirut in March. Look how densely populated the area is. That's one thing, like after reading Scott Horton's book, Enough Already, Time to End the War on Terrorism, he had some source in there, it was like some military like general or someone from the Pentagon, and he was saying that what causes civilian casualties isn't it's population density. It's not like the I can't remember how he said it. Anyway, but like the point being that, like, if you're going to drop bombs, even if they're precision guided munitions, supposedly, you're going to drop bombs in cities, you're going to kill a lot of innocent people. Doesn't matter how precise the strikes supposedly are. It has carried out strikes on the capital, Beirut, as well as throughout the country's south. Israel has also issued evacuation warnings to the entirety of southern Lebanon, displacing hundreds of thousands of people. On Tuesday, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, announced plans for his country to occupy large swaths of the south once more, although not as far as Sidon. Quote, hundreds of thousands of residents of southern Lebanon who evacuated north will not return south of the Litani River until security is guaranteed for residents of the north, end quote, he said. Quote, the IDF will control the remaining bridges over the river and the security zone up to the Litani. The principle is clear. There is terror and missiles. There will be no homes and residents. The IDF will be inside. Sidon, or Saida, as the locals call it, is the largest city south of Beirut not to be inside the Israeli evacuation zone. The boundary of that area, now just a few kilometres away, it is currently hosting 16,000 displaced people from southern Lebanon in homes across the city and another 13,000 in shelters. Quote, back in 1982, we didn't leave the city, and I'm sure that the people of Saida will not evacuate our city, will not leave our city. It's our land. We're not going to give it up. End quote. The history of major refers... What? The history the major refers to is one remembered by many in Sidon. Many in Sidon still remember the Israeli invasion of 1982. So Israel's occupied southern Lebanon before, and this is really a big reason why Hezbollah came to be, was in resistance to that occupation and the necessity they felt to kicking the bloody hell out, which they did. Israel ended up retreating, but now they're back. Not good. In 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon to try to destroy the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which was based in the country's south, and installed a pro-Israeli government. Hang on. In 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon to try to destroy the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which was based in the country's south, and and they wanted to install a pro-Israeli government. Israel occupied Sidon for almost 3 years, withdrawing in 1985. In 1982, the 1982 Israeli invasion served as the catalyst for the establishment of the military group Hezbollah as a resistance movement. It is now considered a terrorist organization in many countries, including Australia. If we're not involved and we're not, I don't know. I don't know why we would consider Hezbollah a terrorist organization if we don't know the history and understand the context of how they even came to be in the first place. If you're resisting a foreign government invading you, and you're going to call the resistance group terrorist, then what do you call the foreign government who's invading you? And that they're not also terrorist? Is that not also terrorist activity? Give me a clear definition of terrorism that we can universally apply. Go on. I put the challenge out to anybody. What's a clear definition of terrorism that can be universally applied? Some of the streets of Sidon, particularly in the east, are lined with the Iranian-backed Hezbollah's posters and flags. There were even a few images of Iran's first supreme leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. In the old city, Hezbollah imagery is not seen, but anger over the current situation is widespread. Israel is the clear enemy. Thank you. Quote, aren't they satisfied with the bloodshed? Aren't they seeing on the TV how people are losing their children? End quote. Greengrocer Mohammed Misto asked. Many in Sidon have bad memories of other conflicts that engulf southern Lebanon. Most recently, there was a 2024 war in which the south was invaded by Israel and towns near Sidon were hit by airstrikes. The war ended in a ceasefire in November 2024, although Israel continued to strike southern Lebanon against claimed Hezbollah targets. Israel continues to hold ground inside Lebanon despite the terms of the truce demanding a withdrawal. That was before the latest ground invasion. Around the corner from the greengrocer, cobbler Abdel Karim Ahmad El Mazri said the current war was the quote biggest he had end quote. Sorry, was the quote biggest end quote he had seen. He also said it was fueling a major economic crisis. Of course, many of the people wandering the markets were displaced and not spending money. How much more of this? I think I'll just leave it there, but yeah, obviously. So, hang on, here's a good picture. So there's the Litani River. Okay, so you know what? It'd be good to get... Okay, so here's the current, northern border of Israel, and then here's the Litani River. So this is the area that Israel wants to occupy. Evacuation orders. Oh, okay, so they've told them to evacuate all the way to what's this other river? The Zarani River. Jesus Christ, dude. Let's get a map of Lebanon and let's have a good look at the whole country, because the area that they want them to push them back to, the Litani River, I heard someone saying it's a big percentage of the whole country of Lebanon. Lebanon map. All right, so here's Lebanon. How do we get this on full? Is it full? No? Hang on. Oh, yeah, just get rid of that. Okay. Go away. All right, so... Okay, so just to put it in perspective, right? So this is Israel here. This is all Israel. I've got some friends that live in Haifa, which I'm really concerned about. And then here's Lebanon, and then let's see, so the size of Lebanon, and then, okay, there's Sidon, we were just reading about. So where's the Litani? Let's try and find the Litani River. Can't zoom in. Which one's the Litani? Hey, get out of it. Maybe we can figure it out from going back to... So I guess it's like this first one. God, which one is it? Let's drag this over here. Is that the Litani River there? Yeah, I think that's it there. If I zoom in enough, it'll show. I'm saying something else. Maybe I should just search it. Hang on. But, like, as you can see, like, Lebanon's not a very big country. It's maybe half the size of Israel. And then they want to take, this southern portion of it. It's probably like 20% of the whole country of Lebanon. Let's search. Oops. Oh, get out of it. Get out of it. Litani. Is that how you spell it? Litani River. Okay. Right, so that's it there. Okay, so it's like, it's a big chunk of the country, man. They're taking, they intend on taking this whole section. It's hectic, dude. It's awful. Oh, fun and games. Just scouring Twitter, found a great clip from the champion Scott Horton and Ryan Dawson. Let's just check it out. These guys are great. Follow their stuff. Scott Horton show on YouTube, and Ryan Dawson. I think he's been like banned off everything, but you find him on X. Ryan Dawson. What's his thing? Anti-neocon ANC report, anti-neocon report.
David Ben-Gurion, the founding prime minister of Israel, had said after the 67 war, we should not be doing this. We should give up the West Bank and Gaza back to Jordan and Egypt and not take the responsibility of this. Screw that land. We got our Israel already. If we take that land, we take all those people, it's just going to turn us into jailers. It's going to turn us into militarists in a way that we don't want to be. And they told him, yeah, shut up, founding, longest serving prime minister of Israel. What do you know about this? And they sidelined him, and they went with the Hawks, with the Likud, and this Greater Israel Project, which has created this just, I want to say it's an untenable situation, Ryan, but it's been like this since 9 years before I was born, man. There's been this essentially like Soviet communist level military occupation of these people. It's an absolute horror show.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, there we go there. ANC. That's Ryan Dawson. www.ryandawson.org. Check his stuff out. He's a champion. It's really good. Here's Trump, the scumbag, the starter of wars of choice, just attacking Iran while sitting at the negotiating table pretending that he didn't want to attack Iran. Let's have a listen to what he has to say right here and maybe respond to it.
And maybe in particular that country, we were the longest bond, the longest ally. Australia too. Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia. I wouldn't say anybody was great other than the 5 countries in the Middle East. We never really had very much support. We spend trillions of dollars supporting countries, and this is Little League. This isn't the big league deal. This is sort of Little League pool for us. This was look, we decimated them in a period of a week. In the first week, it was over. In the first few days, it was over. I think the Navy took us 3 days to essentially annihilate it. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country. And
so if he decimated the Navy in 3 days, then why do you need Australia? Why do you need all these other countries? The war was over in 3 days. It was over in a week. But Iran's still fucking you up and still hitting you with drones and missiles, hitting your military bases, smashing Israel, smashing Tel Aviv, smashing parts of Haifa, and smashing all sorts of places and targets all over Israel, or the Gulf nations, hitting Saudi Arabia, hitting Bahrain, hitting Qatar, hitting Oman. The war was over in a couple of days. America's already won. Trump just told you. They don't need our help. But if there's ever a big one, they may need our help. But he doesn't need our help right now. But he's can't believe that we didn't help him. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Let's watch one more clip. It's of the fantastic Tim Dillon. So hilarious. And let's just check it out. Let's go to it right now, and then we can comment afterwards, whatever. And then end the show.
Oh, okay. Let's watch the rest of Pete here. Maybe I'm wrong. Pete Hegseth.
And the truth speaks for itself. I mean, President Trump was very clear about that. Iran has...
I got to pause it. I find it funny. I'm watching a clip of Tim Dillon watching a clip. Yeah. Got me going.
Weaponized energy for decades. Israel clearly sent a warning, and POTUS has made it clear, very clear. Iran knows when you hit Karg Island and you hit military capabilities on Karg Island, which is the only thing we hit, we can hold anything at issue. Anything. The United States military controls the fate of that country. Iran has the ability to make the right choices. It should not, going forward, target Arab allies, Arab countries, trying to create pain, the pain that they created themselves. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your time.
I mean, this guy, they should not try to create pain, the pain that they created themselves. We attacked their country. We killed the leader of their country. Like during Ramadan. Whatever you feel about the dude, I don't want to live in fucking Iran. But this idea that this is like a moral imperative that we need to be out there helping the Iranians set up a new government whilst a lot of Americans get killed. It's a little ridiculous. Pretty stupid. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong.
You gotta love him. He's so funny, man. But yeah, he's so right. There's just so much hypocrisy. There's so much just contradiction and lies, and the propaganda is just hopeless. Like that Dave Smith again, like he's just great. Go follow him if you don't already. He's just very good on all this all this stuff, and he's constantly talking about how like they didn't even try and sell us. Like the propaganda was so horrible, and it's like it's not, like he with the second invasion of Iraq, 2003, taking out Saddam Hussein, there was a whole massive 18-month-long campaign of Saddam's got weapons of mass destruction. He's going to palm them off onto the terrorists, and then they could drop a nuke on California. And although that was a massive lie and propaganda, at least all the politicians at the time like stayed on message and were adamant and relentless and really selling you on the lie. Whereas with this war, they're not even doing that. They're just like, they keep changing the justification. None of the justifications make any sense. They were 3 weeks away from a nuclear weapon, but we also destroyed their nuclear facilities last year, back in June. They're attacking their own people, but now we're threatening to destroy their energy infrastructure. They're not allowed to have ballistic missiles. It's about I don't know. There's been too many flip flops and changing of justifications for this war that it's hopeless. And it's like they're not even really trying. They're just doing it. They're just like attacking them, and then we'll figure out how we're going to sell it later, and then they just don't even bother trying to sell it. So it's pretty sad. But we just got to try and get the word out that it's all bullshit, it's all lies, and it's just killing of innocent people, attacking countries that aren't a threat to you is wrong, and we shouldn't be endorsing it. We shouldn't be going along with it. Trump is a scumbag, lying coward who campaigned on not fighting any more wars and bragged about the only president in modern American history that hasn't started any new wars. He continued them all, though. He continued every one of Bush's wars and Obama's wars. And yeah, it's just fucked. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks everybody. Sorry for canning the show yesterday. I just felt like I was like too much flying off the handle, and I just I probably shouldn't have posted it to begin with, but after watching it back, I was like, yeah, I can't conduct myself like that in public. Like I got to try and keep a lid on it as best I can. Telling the facts and get going through all the information, but just try not to get too emotional about it. Try not to just swear every second word. I mean, I probably swore a few times now, but just doing my best to not be so animated. I know it's hard, but anyway, trying to live as the great Jesus would live, and there's not saying that I live up to that at all, but doing my best to do as Jesus would. So on that, God bless. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a great rest of the day today, and catch you on the next one. Peace.